Well, Ulysses, it's one of our favorite episodes to do every week. It's the midweek mailbag.
I'm excited about it. Let's see what Kody, Steve, Zach have to say, and let's dive right there, man. Let's do it. Let's get started.
Let's have some fun.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And we're the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making Locked On Rays your very first listen every day. And remember, Locked On Rays is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On Rays. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Rays. And if you're interested in advertising with the program or having us do a live broadcast from your place of business, lockedonrays@gmail.com. Speaking of business, today's episode is brought to you by Sports Card Investor. Welcome to the world of trading cards reimagined. Stay tuned later in the show for more information on this awesome new tool for collectors. You're going to want to check out Sports Card Investor. That is the Sports Card Investor app. Very cool stuff. All right, Ulysses, let's go ahead and dive right into these mailbag questions. This first one from Steve Renz. He says, "Hey, fellas, I just wanted to write in and say I couldn't have asked for a better opponent to host at the Trop. After that gut-wrenching road trip, our boys need a wake-up call. Regardless of the outcome in the series, I'm very excited to see the following. Who will step up, bear down, and deliver when Tampa Bay needs them the most? How will this team respond to adversity? What new faces will we see in the lineup? We've had our 100-win season. We've had our division titles. We need our ring. And if we're going to get that ring, we need to beat teams like the Yankees." I agree with your finger pointing at the front office. Maybe a spark from this ball club will nudge Stu to open up his pockets and make a splash at the deadline. Let's not forget Atlanta's record at the deadline last year and the trades that they made to push themselves over the hump.
Wow, thank you, Steve, for that email. Let's start with one of the questions there. Who will step up, bear down, and deliver for the Rays? I think you're seeing that this week. I think you're seeing a guy, Isaac Paredes, stepping up. Yeah. Nobody had him on his radar because he literally was not a Ray until a couple of days before the regular season started. In fact, he was a Durham Bull, if anything. So I think that's a guy that you can say who will step up. We've talked about Taylor Walls and Vidal Brujan seemingly getting a little bit looser with the bat. Josh Lowe getting a hit in every single game of the Pirates series, and I think he got a couple of singles as well in the Yankee series as well. So those are the guys who's going to step up. I mean, right now it's Isaac, but we've seen Harold Ramirez the whole season being a guy that you can lean on, and like you said, heavily singles guy, but they're usually clutch. They're usually at a right opportune time to not only start a rally, but to kind of finalize a rally by getting some scoring done. So those are the main cast of characters that you want them to step up right now.
Yeah, and I would also add, this is probably low-hanging fruit, but Wander Franco to the equation, because I think we could say he underperformed and was dealing with lower body health issues, and now that he's back in the fold, I fully expect him to take off and elevate his play to what we expect for 2022. So I think that's a guy who can absolutely help carry you going forward as well. Now, how will this team respond to adversity? I think we're learning that right now. We're right in the middle of it with all the injuries and young players and dealing with tough games against the Yankees and other divisional foes, and trying to get past the close losses. How many one-run losses have the Rays dealt with so far this season?
Too many.
So we're right in the middle of that one, I think, as far as the how. And then as far as the what, we've seen a lot of new faces in the lineup already. I guess really the only other, if we're talking new face that we've yet to see, but we probably won't see, is Ford Proctor's, he's the only other position player on the 40-man who has not been called up or gotten an opportunity as of yet. And he's got a 611 OPS in Durham. So unless something happens to Rene Pinto or Francisco Mejia, I don't think you're going to see Ford Proctor. So I don't know. Do we consider Brandon Lowe a new face? I forget what he looks like. I forget his jersey number. I forget his batting stance.
I think we should add a couple of guys that we saw just a glimpse of, and they did really well. Luke Raley, of course, with a nice little single, and Jonathan Aranda. We didn't really talk about his MLB debut, and it was a fabulous couple games for him. Clutch pinch hit situation in the ninth the other day to kind of get that walk-off set up, and an RBI single for his first MLB hit. So those are the new faces I think that you can add to that. Jonathan Aranda can play all over the infield, first base. So that's a guy that if somebody gets hurt, he could be the one that steps up, because we've talked about how he is just killing AAA, and he comes up and he started to rake. So obviously in a perfect world, you could keep, as many guys as possible up there, but Wander Franco coming off the IL, somebody needed to be sent down to Durham, and that's of course Jonathan Aranda. So we'll see what happens, but I think there is plenty of raw material of a lot of dough that you can make something really good out of it, and they just need to wake up. They just need to get in the rhythm of things. And we've talked about patience with young guys. You got to be patient. Freshmen, sophomore year, rookies to get a little bit more acclimated. And like you said, it's now mid-June. It's now end of June, rather.
Mm-hmm.
So they seemingly are starting to get hot, just like the weather is, and hopefully that keeps going.
And I like the point that Steve brought up about all the moves that the Braves made at the trade deadline last year. They got Eddie Rosario. They got Adam Duvall. They got Richard Rodriguez. They got Jorge Soler. They got Stephen Vogt. They got Jock Peterson. And it's not like they had to sell off the farm to acquire those tested veterans. It's really the only notable name that I remember that the Braves had to part with was Alec Jackson as far as a prospect. I know they also, I guess, traded Pablo Sandoval to the Indians, but it is what it is. But it's not like, oh my gosh, they really had to go out for broke to acquire some of these guys. So I think there could be an opportunity in this trade market, not to say you're going to be as rambunctious as the Braves, but you can find veteran tested pieces like that, there's going to be some sellers. Yes, there's expanded playoffs, but there's going to be some sellers as well. And there's going to be some opportunities to maybe shore up your lineup a little bit, or your bullpen if it comes to that, depending on where this team stands a month from now, if you will.
Yeah, no, there are always pieces out there. The issue is, can you have the perfect formula of getting those guys without giving up too much? And that's where it gets difficult.
That was the Krabby Patty formula.
Yeah, and that's where
he had it.
Exactly, and that's where it gets a little bit different than MLB The Show and the forced trades that happen. That's not real life, and so people, you can't get Mike Trout for Kevin Padlow, okay? In real life,
that trade before. Yeah,
cannot do that. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, good question, Steve. I feel the frustration, but I also hope that you have some optimism after seeing the adversity. Let's talk about that as a microcosm. The Yankee series was awful, especially the 6 games, only winning one of those games. Awful result. And then what happens? They sweep the Pirates.
Yeah.
That's how you handle adversity. You know what you have to do against the Pittsburgh Pirates, and you handle your business. Now let's hope that that's what happens with the Milwaukee Brewers series.
Right. And going back to the Braves real quick, the Braves, just to my understanding, they probably have more of a traditional fan base and clubhouse dynamic. The Rays do things a little bit differently. So you have to be really careful about who you're bringing into the clubhouse and if they're going to fit and follow what the Rays do and how they do it. And also the Trop is another mitigating factor as far as, do we think this guy can hammer it out at the Trop offensively and defensively and so forth. All right, we have several more questions to get to, but first we have to tell you about the Sports Card Investor app. That is the hobby's most powerful resource. Quickly check the value of your favorite cards, find great deals, and profit from the hobby you love. Available completely free in the Google Play and Apple App Stores. The Sports Card Investor app is a must-have for baseball fans. So download the Sports Card Investor app today, available for free in the Google Play and Apple App Stores, or go to sportscardinvestor.com/locked on. All right, this next question from Zach Ainsworth. He says, hey guys, is it time for the Rays to sell like the Athletics did this offseason? Personally, as a fan, the way I see it is the Yankees are unbelievable. The Jays are young and only going to get better. The Red Sox can compete any given year. And the Orioles have a very bright future, while the Rays only seem to be declining. Is it time for the front office to trade guys like Randy, Brandon Lowe, Glasnow for prospects, build around the core of Wander, Shane, and Boz? And before you say I'm overacting, it's only June. In my opinion, this Rays roster, even at full strength and health, isn't good enough to win a World Series. Why not build for the future?
Well, Zach, thank you for writing to us. I do think you're overreacting, and I'll tell you this much. This is how I know it's very easy and very quickly you can change a fan base's expectations with a couple of really good seasons. 2018, a college team wins 90 wins for you. 2019, ALDS Game 5, 96 wins. 2020, 40-20 in a 60-game season. You go to the World Series Game 6. 2021, a 100-win season. 2022, in one of their worst stretches in the last 4 seasons, especially without Wander Franco, they went 14-15. And we're trying to sell off the team?
Yeah.
Guys, no, let's not be, we're spoiled. And I'm talking about me too, Zach. Like you hear my frustrations on the pod. You see me frustrated, and that's fine. But there's also a point of venting out frustrations and then saying, oh man, this team we can sell off the farm. Like, no. Especially, let's go back to that first segment. Who won the World Series in 2021? The Atlanta Braves were not even above 500 in August. August were they not above 500. And then let's go back 2 years before that. The Washington Nationals were 19-33. Anything can happen. The only thing we need to worry about as a fan base is to hope that this team has enough wherewithal, has enough throttle, has enough uninjured players to get to the playoffs. Once you get to the playoffs, it's Vegas, baby. I mean, you're just throwing dice. I don't care who you are. I don't care if it's Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole can have a bad outing, and you're going to be like, whoa, it's Garrett Cole. Well, let's remember what happened in the wild card last year. Anything can happen. The stats don't matter anymore. It's just a very short series. So just get to the playoffs. They should not be selling Glasnow, Randy, Brandon Lowe, like you're suggesting, Zach. I really don't think so.
For the record, the Athletics traded Matt Chapman to Toronto, Matt Olson to Atlanta, Chris Bassett to the Mets, and Sean Manaea to San Diego. I don't think the Rays have to go that far with the players that they currently have on their roster. But I will also say this, that the Rays will listen in and consider trading just about anyone except for there's 3 untouchables on this roster right now: Wander Franco, Shane McClanahan, and Shane Boz. After that, let's remember, Tyler Glasnow was somewhat close to being traded at the trade deadline last year. I think, not saying this would be, hey, you're selling, you're doing a fire sale, but I could see Randy traded. I could see Tyler Glasnow traded. Now, you also, if you're the Rays, you have to think about 2023 and beyond of, well, what are your plans for Kevin Kiermaier and Brett Phillips? So are you going to try to get rid of 3 outfielders if you include Randy Arozarena in that mix? So, and then of course,
I think the Glasnow thing is banana sandwich. You're not gonna trade. The time for trading Glasnow has come and gone, because Now you're close. Now, like, you could literally get some glass now innings, even 5 innings in September from him, from the bullpen this year. So that is off. That is off the reservation. Glass now is, I guarantee, I can almost guarantee you, Tyler Glasnow is not going to be traded. Like, it wouldn't make any sense. He's so close to maybe providing some innings for you. I don't see that happening. A Randy trade, I would hate it.
He might run his way into a steal.
I run his way into a trade. I would hate it emotionally.
Or trade. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would hate it emotionally. I think the fan base would really get hurt by that too. But again, there are only so many untouchables on a team, and a team like the Rays has less untouchables than other teams do, just because of the resources. But having said that they'll listen to anybody that, that calls their office. I don't think it's just to sell because, there's no chance anymore. Like,
yeah,
I think there's plenty of chances on June 30th, to still be able to not only make the playoffs, but make a deep playoff run. Because Zach, you're saying even if they come back healthy, they're not strong enough to win the World Series. Oh, so where are your expectations then? Because if they come back fully and healthy and strong, where are those expectations for you, Zach? Is it DS? Yeah. Is it the ALCS? Because if you're telling me ALDS, well, one bad game for another starter can get you into the ALCS. And a couple of bounces in the ALCS could get you to the World Series. And you know where I'm going with this. Again,
hey, you don't have to win 100 games to get into the World Series.
Just get to the playoffs.
And we didn't even touch on Brandon Lowe. I guess you could add him, at least for the foreseeable future, to the untouchable list. I mean, consider this. He's honestly only making
right now, Kevin. Right now, he's untouchable. I forgot about the contract. Yeah, he's untouchable too.
He'll be making less than Brooke Raley next season still. Like, this is a 5-WAR player making $4 or $5 million. Won't be making, $8.7 million till 2024. I mean, I've heard this before about trading Brandon Lowe. I really don't understand that. And I know there was the talk of, well, you got Vidal Brujan, you got Taylor Walls. Well, we're seeing that, they're not going to provide the offensive punch that Brandon Lowe is going to provide. I know I don't necessarily expect Brandon Lowe to year in, year out give you 39 bombs and 99 RBIs, but we've consistently seen that he's one of the best precocious power hitters and run producers as a middle infielder in the American League. And his numbers show that. So I think there's a lot of other guys that would be on the, if the Rays get a call, hey, is so-and-so available? Brandon Lowe, they'd say, yeah, it's going to take a lot to get
They would take
Brandon
a lot.
Lowe. Yeah, you might as well just add him to the Wander Franco, Shane McClanahan, and Shane Boss as of right now.
Yeah. That he's untouchable because of that contract. And the production too. I mean, let's not, fluff the production there. The production's there at the end of the year. It might not be there for 2 months or 3 months, but at the end of the year, the production will be there.
Yes, it will be. We'll continue this discussion. We've got one more mailbag question to get to, but first we have to tell you about BlueNile.com. Make your moments sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. I said it. And Locked On Sports listeners will get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. This podcast exclusive includes engagement as well. So use code Locked On. That's code Locked On, LOCKEDON. Plus, every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what is inside. So shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today.
We also want to tell you about a way you can save time and money, and that's by using Rock Auto. Why choose to spend 30, 50, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or a car dealership? That doesn't make sense, you guys. Just like selling off the farm does not make sense right now. Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer. They have everything you could ever need: brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. Gotta check out their easy-to-use website today to find the solution to your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Make sure to write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know that we sent you. Amazing selections, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com.
All right, let's get to this question from Cody Glazer. Hey, Locked On Rays, love the pod. Go Rays and keep up the great work. Thank you. Mailbag question. Expectations are a B after 2021. I think we all expected this Rays team to be close to last year and still be one of the powerhouses in the AL. He wrote something other than B. We're not allowed to curse on this podcast anymore. Those are the rules.
Yeah.
Them's the rules. So we have to
New
tone it
rules,
down.
baby.
Yeah, new rules. Locked On Podcast Network. Take it up with them. Take it up with our bosses. We just got to follow the rules here. But this is baseball. Players in their first and second years rarely contribute to winning, and we have 3 to 4 Rays that fit that definition in the lineup every game. This is still an extremely young team that I think starts pressing with the high expectations put on them. Is it time for Rays fandom to temper our expectations, consider this the best rebuilding season of all time, and set our eyes to 2023? Bonus question. Do you think we become sellers this year, or do we push for that third wild card spot? As always, Yankees suck.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do, Cody.
Well, not this year. Not this year.
Cody, thank you for writing to us. Let's see. Where can we go with this? I was almost going to just give Cody a standing ovation when that question started saying, is it time to temper expectations as a fan base? And I was like, yes. And then he said, and sell off and consider this a rebuilding season. No, Cody, you had me there. You almost had me. No, man, this is, again, the worst stretch that we as a fan base have seen in the last 4 seasons is a 14-15 stretch.
Yeah.
Go ask the Cincinnati Reds what a bad stretch looks like. Go ask the Chicago Cubs what a bad stretch looks like. The Pittsburgh Pirates, the Colorado Rockies, the Arizona Diamondbacks. Go ask the Baltimore Orioles. They're not that far away. Ask them what's a bad stretch. The Washington Nationals. Guys, we can't be this spoiled after 4 seasons of really good baseball. We can't. Come on. That smells like Yankee fan base, and we're better than that. We're better than that. We can't just be, look, last season was amazing. And if you were listening to the podcast last year, we kept saying, enjoy it, because this is not going to happen next year. The run production is insane bananas right now. Enjoy it.
Right.
And also, temper expectations. Yes, Cody. In that part, I will give you a 100%, because we do need to temper expectations when 2 of your best hitters haven't been in the lineup together since early May.
Yeah.
And one of those best hitters wasn't even doing what he usually can, which is Brandon Lowe. He was just kind of dancing around above average or average production for an MLB player this year. So yes, temper expectations 100%. This being a rebuilding season, no. And I know you said the best rebuilding season ever. So if you want to play semantics, okay, sure. This could be the best rebuilding season. But the goal is still, I think, the same in the big picture than when we were preseason. If the big preseason, big picture was get to the playoffs, I still think at the end of June, we're still saying, let's get to the playoffs. I don't see a different big picture goal. Now, is it going to be more difficult now than what we thought? 100,000% is going to be more difficult. Right. But I still think that the big picture goal of getting to the playoffs is still the same goal. And I think it's still achievable. It's just going to be way harder.
Yeah. again, last year, 2021, 100 wins, historic season offensively and around. You had career years from Brandon Lowe, from Austin Meadows, from Mike Zunino. You had an all-star season from Joey Wendell, Andrew Kittredge. You had Willie Adames for the first 40 games. You had Nelson Cruz for the last 55 games. It was a different team. It was a different team. And we know that after the Rays swung and missed on Freddie Freeman and maybe some others and then made some, I guess, surprising trades or noteworthy trades, that this team, the expectations were high. I don't know if we should use the word rebuilding, but restructuring, perhaps. Maybe that's the way to look at it, because it is restructuring. That's what they're doing right now, or that's what they did from the offseason to present.
Well, remember when in spring training of 2021, Eric Neander came out all cool with his khakis and said, this is going to be a transition year. And then they went on to win 100 wins.
Right.
Well, maybe last year they were expecting this year's type of production.
Yeah.
This is kind of what they were thinking about 2021. It ended up not being that at all. But maybe they just got the years switched up. They thought 2021 was going to look like this year, and they thought 2022 was going to look like last year. Like, we're really going to push,
Yeah.
But
how they know that Mike Zunino would have an 1100 OPS against lefties, or that Brandon Lowe would hit 39 home runs. That just some of those things, or that Wander Franco would develop as quickly as he did and force the Rays' hand. Like, if you force the Rays' hand to trade a clubhouse god in Willie Adames, you've got something special on your hands.
And Randy Arozarena being a 2020 guy and being the Rookie of the Year award. I mean, there were Andrew Kittredge, like you said, all-star. Like, so many things happened that were outliers last year that maybe I think that's what happened. This year is actually the transition year.
Yeah.
That not 2021. So we're seeing what they thought was going to be last year. That's my conspiracy theory. You can subscribe to it or not, but what you should subscribe to is actually our YouTube channel. So if you're not watching us, make sure to subscribe.
Yeah.
That button doesn't hurt you. It just helps us. So isn't that nice? You can also hit that like button too. It's free. So that's what's happening, man. We're looking at the transition year in 2022, and you've made this mention before. This year's lineup has looked a lot like the 2021 Durham Bulls. Doesn't that scream transition to you? It does to me. So that's what we're looking at. Maybe not a rebuilding year, Kody, but rather a transition year. But that does not mean that the big picture goal of getting to the playoffs is still not the same goal.
And a lot can happen in a month. A lot can happen in a month. Good, bad, indifferent. So I think it's going to make for a very interesting time over these next several weeks. And like you said, Ulises, transition year. Think about all the guys on this roster, all the guys on this active roster who have less than a year of service time. And the guy that you're purporting that, hey, this guy, not that you are, but the fan base is purporting to carry the team, carry the load. Wander Franco, barely above 1 year of service time. But Calvin Fauché, Josh Lowe, Taylor Walls, Renee Pinto, Vidal Brujan, Luke Raley, Shane Boz, Ralph Garza Jr. It's a lot of rookies. That's a lot of guys with less than 1 year of service time that you're having to utilize and deploy just about each and every game. But still, let's remember, it is expanded playoffs. And if the playoffs were to start today, the Rays would be in. They would have that third wild card spot. And they've got quite a bit of room over that next team, the Cleveland Guardians and the Texas Rangers. Like, I guess that's where it's beneficial that, again, I know we disagree on the expanded playoffs discussion, but when you have a division that has, basically 4 playoff quality teams, and the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, and the Rays, it's nice to have that extra wild card spot so that theoretically 4 teams from the AL East would get into the playoffs. So yeah. And once you're in, ask the 2021 Braves. I know they won their division, but they only had 88 wins in the regular season. Ask the 2019 Nats, ask the 2014 Giants, ask the 2011 Cardinals. Ask the 2021 Rays after winning 100 games,
Ask the 2006 Cardinals too. Didn't they have like an 80-something win record too when they went to the World Series? So no, look, man, I understand. And look, It's been a really nice 4 seasons where our expectations keep rising and rising and rising. But let's not forget that this is the most difficult division in baseball. I don't care what great Dave Roberts says about the NL West. Boy, do I wish we had the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Colorado Rockies to play against. Boy, do I wish that. Okay?
Yeah.
Dave Roberts is completely wrong about saying that the NL West is the strongest division in baseball. You're wrong, Dave Roberts. You're wrong. So that's...
Is he more wrong than Neil Solondz? Is he more wrong than Neil Solondz on certain points?
Well, no. Again, my point with Neil Solondz is he's always you briefed it perfectly. Well, actually,
yeah.
And he will never say a word wrong about what the Rays do, and that's very frustrating.
He toes the company line, and that can be important for job security for sure.
Well, you know what?
And just go.
You know what?
Yeah.
Michael Kay. I've listened to a lot of Michael Kay this year just because I'm sick that way, and I want to hear what the Yankee fandom has to say. He criticizes Aaron Boone.
Yeah.
I mean, so, and he doesn't he work for the Yes Network, which is owned by the Yankees. So I mean, I'm just saying, like,
Right.
You don't have to just clap at everything that the Rays do or Kevin Cash does.
Fair. That is fair. Again, Neil Solondz not coming on the podcast anytime soon. You'll have to listen to my Neil Solondz impressions. That's what you'll have to deal with. And going back, I know we don't necessarily, I don't want to go back to a previous question, but after this last segment, it kind of piqued in my mind a little bit. Zach Ainsworth, he mentioned about how the Jays are young and only going to get better. The Red Sox can compete in any given year. The Orioles have a very bright future. That all sounds like the Rays to me.
Yeah.
Right? Those are
young?
terms that you can use for the Rays going forward.
Yeah. And again, expanded playoffs. Yeah, like you said, we might disagree on the concept, but the reality is that it's there. So yeah, you should probably
use it.
If you do not give up when almost half of the teams can get to the playoffs. And when you say Cleveland Guardians and Texas Rangers, does that scream any fear into you as a Rays fan? It shouldn't. Now, does that mean that you're going to just completely annihilate them if you face them? No. But it ain't the Yankees, which you have to play basically 19 times every year. So, no, you do not wave the white flag. You do not sell off. You do not consider this a rebuilding year. You consider this, let's play semantics here, transition year. This is just a transition year where they should get to the playoffs, and we hope they get into the playoffs.
And let's consider this. I know it's been a long time coming, but Baltimore's not half bad. I mean, they're not that far away from being a 500 team. I don't think they're going to get there this year, but again, the Rays aren't going 18-1 against the Orioles ever again. And that is just from a competitive aspect and wanting drama and interest. That makes the division fun when you have five good teams that are going to fight it out and go back and forth. And that, I know the Yankees are going to run away with it, but over the next couple of years,
34 and 40. They're 34 and 40. That makes them better than like 7 teams right now.
Yeah.
7.
Actually, I see 35 and 40. So I don't know if you're
35 and 40.
List.
Look at that. So that's better than 7, 8 teams in the league. They're not a joke.
They're not that far off from the third wild card spot. If you after the Rangers, like it's a kind of everybody sort of muddied up in that, 47% win percentage after the first couple teams. So
so Dave Roberts is wrong. It's okay. Dave Roberts, you can be wrong. It's okay. You can come on the podcast and I will tell you personally that you're wrong.
There we go. We'll lock him up.
There you go.
We'll use our contacts to get Dave Roberts on the show, just like Neil Solondz. Thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your very first listen every day. Now make your second listen the Locked On MLB Prospects podcast. That is also free and available on all platforms. As a reminder, if you want to advertise with us or have us do a live broadcast from your place of business, or we might even come to your home, we can work something out. LockedOnRays@gmail.com, or you can also send us a Twitter, Instagram DM as well. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe and go Rays.